this video, we will talk about how to change strings on a classical guitar. From time to time, we will need to change strings, whether a string broke, or strings are wearing out, or just simply it doesn't sound as good as when they're new. Unlike steel strings, the classical strings don't come with a ball end. It's just literally one string that's wrapped up like this, and you straighten them up, and you have to learn how to tie them on the bridge. We have two guitars here. One has 6-hole bridge, which means 1 hole per string. And this one has 12, double of them. And I'll show you how to change strings on both styles. There are other variations as well. Some has 3 holes per string. So most commonly you'll see the guitars come with 6 holes in the bridge. And the more modern designs will tend to use 12 holes in the bridge. Either way, after this video, you'll know how to change the strings on both guitars. I'm gonna put this one away. So here we have the guitar with 6 holes in the bridge. And the first thing I would do is to loosen up the strings by turning in the tuning gears. A good way to do is play the string while you turn it. Turning the tuning gears counterclockwise, the string is going higher, and then when you're turning them clockwise, the string is actually loosened. It's always a good practice to play the string. When you loosen the string, you know you're going the right way. And of course you can see the string is getting really loose now, right? Okay, so I'm gonna do the same for the others, obviously. And another thing you should really do, I'm here doing the demonstration to show you how to loosen the string. What I would really do is actually loosen the tensions evenly, or try to be as even as possible. So what I would do is tune down this a little bit, the 6th string a little bit, and the 5th string a little bit, and the 4th string a little bit, and then the 3rd string a little bit, and then the 2nd string a little bit, and then the 1st string, and then just keep on repeating this process until once the string has no more tension on it, then you can just keep on turning until it gets really loose so that you can take it off. Okay. Some people will say that you should only change 1 string at a time in order to keep the tension on the guitar soundboard. I don't do it that way. If your guitar, by losing all the strings, lose all the tension, and then put new strings on and add the tension to it, and that damages your guitar somehow, then you have a bigger problem with your guitar than what we're talking about here. The way I like to do is I remove all strings, just like when the guitar was brand new, and that give me a good access to the fretboard that I can do a good job cleaning them up before I put the new strings on. Especially if you see the frets get discolored through the usage, you can use actually remember in the nails video I talk about the 2000 grit sandpaper that is used, that I use for buffing the nails, right? Then you can use that gently buff out the discoloring on the fret and make them nice and shiny. You don't want to sand any material off, you just want to buff it. So buffing is a good idea. for clearing that up. Another thing I wanted to mention to you is that once strings are all loose, there's no more tension on it. This one has a little bit more. I'm gonna loosen it. Once the strings are loose, the way to take them off, one way to do is completely loosen up the strings, and then you can either go from the headstock side or from the bridge side to remove the string. I'm going to turn to the bridge side first, so I'm going to show you what I mean here. So I can just pull out the one end and then unwrap the string. Okay, and then just pull it right out. Okay, that's one way of taking out of the string. Another way to do on the headstock side, this is the headstock, right? And this is the guitar bridge, sandable. So you could also do the same thing, same method. You can unwind the string and then just take out the loose end and pull the string out. So that's one of these ways to do that. Other people might prefer, just because these strings are useless now, unless you going to repurpose them for something else, you could have done away by completely remove the string without damaging them. Or you could take a wire cutter, which is the tool you will need later on once you finish strung the string. You could just cut them, right? Hold both ends, give it a cut, and remove the bridge side, and then remove the headstock side. So you can choose whatever method works out for you. Whenever you use a wire cutter around your guitar, please be very, very careful, because you really don't want to damage either the fretboard or the soundboard or anywhere else, because you know these guitars are made out of wood, right? Very soft. Okay, so for the simplicity, I'm just going to cut all these strings. And put them down. And take them out. It's good to have a bin here, and you can just toss them in there. Okay, so now the bridge is open, and I'm going to take the strings off the headstock side. So while we're doing this, I want to mention to you as well that something not to do. When you shovel the string or push the string into the hole on the rod of the tuning gear, some people think that it's a good idea to put the string through twice for the strings. Actually, most of the strings will fit. So they would push the string through the holes twice. They think that will somehow create security. And I would strongly suggest you not to do that, because it'll make it very difficult to try to remove your strings, and it does not really help. So only push the string through the hole only once, okay? And I'll show you how to secure that in a sec. All right, so the tools you need for changing strings. One is a wire cutter that'll help you to cut out the excess strings once it's done. So another tool is a cotton cloth. Could be an OT that you washed up to use, and this is really good to your target. Now that I have all the strings off, underneath the strings sometimes, especially the bridge here, you might not be able to get your cloth in there when the strings are on. This is why I remove all the strings so I can give it a good wipe. And I also will check each fret while I'm cleaning them. Make sure that there's no discoloring on the frets. If there are any at all, then I would use a buffing sandpaper. As I mentioned earlier, the 2000 grade that's really used up, doesn't really have any power left to the sand material off, then I would buff it. And when you buff your frets, right, is metal frets, what you want to do is have some kind of a protection, on the fingerboard. One way to do is you'll see the luthier, they have a little metal card that has a channel cut out and put it on the fret so that when they work on the fret, they're not touching the fingerboard. A simpler way to do is use painter's tape. You can tape on both, put one tape on one side of the fret and put another tape on the other side, and then you do the sanding. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you how to do it. If you happen to have frets that are not shiny, or some spots are not shiny, a simple way to fix that is use this 2000 grade sandpaper that is completely used up. And remember, I was talking about it in the nails video that I use for buffing the nails. What you do is you use the painter's tape, and what I will do is put one piece of tape on one side of the fret, get as close to the fret as possible without getting it cover the fret, of course, right? And you take another piece, you put on the other side. So what I'm doing here is to protect the fingerboard, the M&A fingerboard, even though this only has the power to do buffing. If you scratch that on the fingerboard, it'll make different patterns. You don't want to do that. So then I will hold the guitar. Sometimes people don't want the guitar rock like this. Then you can put a cushion down here to support that. A simple way to do would be get a roll of paper towel, and there's your support. All right, so I will then get the sandpaper buffing the top and the side. Get both sides in there. Now the fret is nice and shiny, right? If then you can use your cotton cloth to give it the final wipe. This is a quick way of cleaning your fret. If the frets discolored quite a bit more, or because it has been taken care of, then you might have to put more elbow grease to get them out. Then and if this is really bad, then you can use really fine steel wool and see if you can get those spots out. But just be careful, you don't want to take too much material out at all. You just want to get rid of the spots. Okay, so this is also a good way to get rid of the dust right against the edge of the fret that sometimes the you can't really get to, especially when the strings are on. So this is a little trick to use. All right, in the base. Okay, we're gonna put the strings on. When you get a pack of strings, they do come either just strings are individually packaged with string number marked, or it'll be in a pack like this and each individual strings are marked. So in this case, it's marked B2. It means it's the B string, the second. The reason they would mark both is that you happen to have the E strings, right? Both the first and the sixth string are both E strings, although you can clearly tell because one's clear nylon and one is with some kind of a metal wanding. Sometimes it's silver, gold, titanium. They put all kinds of stuff on it. If you, somehow you get the strings without the marking, which is highly unlikely, then you'll have to carefully differentiate the thickness. So you would have, in general, you would have two sets of strings. One set is just clear nylon for first three strings. The first string will be the thinnest, and the second string be a little thicker, and then the third string is thickest. And then you have the other set that with windings on it, and then you have, again, the fourth string would be the thinnest, and then the fifth string be thicker, and then the sixth string would be the thickest. And there are times you will get a string at one end that is just the ending. You can see like it's really soft. I avoid using that. And so sometimes people will say, oh yeah, put out the soft side used for wrapping your strings around. I avoid them altogether. So normally I put the strings on from the first to the sixth string, so the highest the treble to the lowest the bass. That's the sequence I use. You can do it however you wanted to do it. But on the camera, it's hard to see the clear strings. So I'm going to show you the basics with the thick strings so that you can see better. So I'm gonna start with the sixth strings and I'm gonna go down that way. So like I said, this is a string number 6, E6, and I have this soft end. So I will leave this soft, like a really soft end on the headstock side. So here I take my wire cutter, I'll cut out the label area. Well, first you want to make sure the string is going to be long enough, right? And chances are it will be because it's made for these guitars. Never heard of double check. I'm going to cut out the label. I don't need that now because clearly I have this in my hand. I know this is identified. Okay, so you cut out the label, and then you will have the so in this case I didn't actually cut very clear. I'm gonna give the nipple. Okay, here we go. So when you cut it out, make sure it's a clean cut so that there's no winding coming out. So the way to do this, I'm going to turn the guitar this way to show you. This is a saddle bone, right? This plastic, or in this case is actually real bone. This white piece here. You want to fish the string through this side. See how the string's coming out here, right? Now, you have to decide which way do you want the string to go. I prefer when I'm tying down my string, the string's going that way. So I would go for the string. You can make them long for now. I wrap it around. So you want the string come back to you and go under the longer portion of the string. and then wrap it around. Now you want to go, so once you wrap around, you'll see this loop. So you want this short end of the string to go into the loop. And once it's inside the loop, you can pull the string. Okay. And this is where you're going to hold to make sure you don't lose the end. With this step, you have to be very careful that the string is going to be, the short end of the string is going to be on the wall here, right? Not on the face. Because if it's on the face, you have a very good chance of it's going to slip out on you. The string's going to slip out. So you wanted to have this on the wall. And also, if you were doing this for the first time, try to leave the string a little bit longer. Because if, in case you didn't do it right, and the string starts slipping on you, you'll actually see it quite clearly that string's got very short instead of just come right out. Okay, so I'm gonna do that for now. Okay, I'll leave the longer. You can even leave the longer than this if you wish to. Now here, just gently hold the string, because if I just let it go, it might just come off on me. So I'll gently hold it. Now I'm going to the headstock end. And this is where I will put away my pliers so that it doesn't scratch the guitar. I don't really need the paper towel here, so I'm going to put that away. On the headstock side, what I would do is I turn the shaft of the tuning gear so that the hole in there, it's actually at an angle pointing to where the is coming. So it's a lot easier. Make it a straight 2 if you want to. So I'm going to do it this way. Push the string in. See if I can turn on the side so you can see. So normally you would have this face. It's a lot easier to do. This is kind of awkward because I'm facing this to the camera. So I'm pushing in the string. Now you can see the strings inside. And I will push it out. And what I would do thing is not to have so much of the string that's loose. So I will pull it down, make sure the string goes into the groove on the upper nut. This side is actually pretty simple because we did a good loop on that side. So once the string is in the shaft, I like to have my string when I start turning the tuning gear, the string goes to the center. So on the bass strings, I want the strings to go this way, and on the treble, I want it to go that way. It doesn't really matter which way, just whatever you prefer. So then I'm gonna have the string go under, and here, let me undo that. I'll show you from this angle that I will have the string go under. Okay, so don't shove the string into the hole twice. That's a good way to do it, and it's not going to help you in any way. So once you have this excess string, hold it in your hand, and I'm going to start to I'm going to show you this way. Okay, I'm going to start turning. As I'm turning the tuning gear, you can see the string is holding down itself, and the tension will keep the string in place. I'm going to move on this side here a little bit, so you can see this is where I want the string to go that way. So when the revolution comes around, I'm going to push this down. See, now it's on this side of the string. I'm going to help to push it onto the other side. So that way, when I tighten up the string, the the strings are all gonna go that way, just for the looks. Some people prefer to have it go this way because then the string is not twisted on an angle, it's actually straight, right? Oh, another thing, when you have your strings off, this is another area that sometimes you can't really get into, so give it a good cleaning on the headstock side. All right, so now this string is on, right? Way low, but it's on nonetheless. So you can see this end is nice and tidy. As I tune up the guitar, as I tune the string is just gonna nice evenly go over. And on this side, remember this loop that we made. As you tune your guitar, this loop will become smaller because of the tension that's pulling. So when you tune your guitar, the tension is gonna move the make this loop a little closer. In order to help that, you could actually give it a little squeeze, like I do here. So I'm helping to get rid of this smacks here. So I'm helping to tighten up the string by doing this way. And as I'm turning the tuning gear on the headstock side, this becomes nice and secure. Okay. When I put on new strings, you could cut it. So I would cut it to somewhere here, so that the string isn't going to touch the soundboard and create a vibration and the buzz. If you're new to this, you might want to leave this a little bit longer, so that, and also don't cut the string, excess string on the headstock side, so that if you for whatever reason didn't put on right and the string slipped out on you, no big deal. You still have the entire string to work on to put the string on. If you have cut it already, especially the excess on this side, if you had cut it already, then it'll be very difficult to work. You might have to get new strings. So that's the advice for newcomers to the guitar. Make sure that you leave the string as it is, and then once it's secure in a week or two, then you can cut the excess. If you leave the strings long like this, I would suggest you to pull them off a little bit. So I would pull them off the soundboard, so it's not touching the soundboard like that, right? So we don't get the buzz. Now when we put on the next string, now you notice that I did not bring this string to standard pitch, because just like when we were losing the strings, we were losing them, right? We were losing the tension evenly. When we tune the strings, we want to do the same thing. We want to bring up the tension evenly. Now let's talk about the next string. This is another thing that people do that you should pay attention to. Again, I'm going to take my wire cutter and cut out of the label. Back to the ring. A lot of people like to think that you could help to secure the strings by wrap this end into the next string and the next string and so on and so forth, so they end up have the strings tying onto each other. I don't do it that way, because if I have the strings tying to each other and I happen to have a broken string, and it's a lot more difficult to take the ends out, because now you have to loosen up two strings to do that. So here I'm doing the same process. Push the string through. Okay, you see the string coming through here. Same thing. And so move my hand so you can see go wrap under, and then okay, let's make it long so we can go under. So now I created this loop and I put this end in there. To make your life easier, just leave the string nice and long. It doesn't really hurt anything because you do have a lot of strings to work with, right? And the same thing, I'm going to give a little squeeze here. And remember, the most important thing is to have the short end of the string on the wall, not on the top. So I'll show you what on the top looks like. This is on the top. You don't want to do that because as you pull the string, this will slip out on you. So make sure it's on the wall and it's nice and secure, and it will take care of the loose end. So you notice I did not wrap them into each other. Okay? I keep them individual. So same thing to the headstock side. So you could turn all your tuning gears towards to where the strings come from, and okay. So now I have that set up. I do the same thing, push this string into here and make sure your string is in a slot here, coming up, and you wanted to go under like that. Okay, so again, if this normally I would use this hand to hold it and I just turn, but it'd be very difficult to see on the camera. So I'm going to do this awkward way of holding this way. Drop the guitar here, and I'm beginning to turn. And the same thing, once you get to one revolution, make sure that the string is going to the right direction. This way it's already on the right side, so I'm not going to worry about it. So I just make it a one revolution. Again, remember we wanted to bring up the tension evenly, so I'll just leave it at that. You can give it a play and it'll just be very slug. When you tighten up the string on that side, make sure you pay attention on this side, right? So that we can double check the string is still on the wall here. Okay. So let's move on to the fourth string. The fourth string is the same way. Some people like to do 2 loops on the thinner strings. I've even seen them do that on the thicker strings. I've tried that before. It's always good to experiment to see what you like. I'll show you what I mean. So some people like to do this. They push through the. So once you push through the string, instead of right, we come under the string like that. Instead of doing one loop like I did earlier, so what they would do is this. You would go into the string and make an extra loop. In this case, the string is actually coming this way. So if I wanted to go the same direction, what I would do in that method is go under and then put the short end of the string into the loop one more time. The end result looks like this. So there's going to be like almost like a twist in there, right? I'll show you. Can you see? Right. So I'll do that on the first string only. I found that I don't really need to do that on any other strings. So my preferred method is on the, especially these strings with metal winding, you don't need to do that. If you like that look, then by all means do it. It doesn't hurt. I don't for now. Actually, I used to do that way. I end up liking this way better. It's nice and simple, very clean. Another thing I want to mention to you is while you putting on the strings, the saddle bone sometimes shifts. So before you tighten down the strings, make sure the saddle bone is even on both ends of the bridge, right? So you don't want the bone to shift on you. Come to the same thing here. Let's do the same. We push and gonna go back out. We're gonna give it the wrap around. Okay, so I just did exactly the same thing. Normally I would do it this way. I would hold onto the string with my right hand and then I would just turn it with left hand. And again, this would be a lot easier if you have the headstock facing you rather than facing the camera, right? As soon as you start to bring the tension, make sure you put the string in its right slot on the upper knot. And I just have to make sure that I get one revolution on so that I know the short end of the string is under the longer side and the tension is going to hold it in place, and that's it. Right? Okay, now let's just quickly do the third and the second. So this is the third string. And another thing is don't push too hard on the soundboard, right? So just be gentle with your guitar. I usually do this on either on the, you can do that on the sofa or on the bed, you know, on a soft surface. If you do work on the table, then, you know, put down a cloth like this to protect your guitar so that you don't want to put it on a hard surface and start working on it. So now we're coming to the other side of it here. And I have my strings all as they tune up, they go that way. So on the other side, I want them to come to this way, so everything goes towards the center. I'm checking the loops, make sure that the loops are still good, and we're still have all the ends on the wall. So let's do the second one. Sometimes I show people how to put on one string and I ask them, you know, to do the rest on their own. And people have often said, can you just show me all of this? You know, I wanted to see everything. So this video will show you. It's a little long, but it shows you everything that I'm doing here, and you can always, it's nice thing about the videos, you can always fast forward, right? So I'm doing exactly the same thing here. The first string is where I'm going to do that double loop thing, because the first one tend to be the easiest to come loose if it's not done properly. So here, I'm going to turn to you. And I will push this through. So now here, I'm going the other way around because I'm going to make 2 loops. If I do the same thing here, I will end up with the one end coming this way. Some people like to have this end, the treble strings going this way and the bass strings going that way. It looks quite cool. I happen to like them to go all one way, so there's more clearance that they're not going to touch each other once I cut the ends off. So what I would do with this case is I'm going to come out the other way right? Instead of coming through this direction, I'm gonna come through this direction because I'm gonna make 2 loops. So going, this is no difference than what we did earlier, except that this time I'm going to fish it through one more time in here so that it's still going to the same direction, and make sure the short end is on the wall. This is where you gotta, it's hard to see on the camera, but what I'm doing here is using my finger to help to push the short end onto the wall, and this one comes off quite easy, so you gotta make sure you hold on tight. And what you end up have is a extra loop, that's all. So that helps to, you get the tension on the wall and on the face, right? So that it holds the string down quite nicely. And on this side, there's no difference. I guess it's just about making a nice coil, right? You can refer to the video that I made for tuning your guitar to bring the guitar up to the standard pitch. To tune the guitar, make sure you bring up, especially for these new strings, right? Bring up the tension evenly. Over here so you can see. So so 6th string, you know, bring up a little bit, 5th string, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, okay? So you want, don't tune one string to standard pitch then tune the next one. A better way to do is bring them up evenly, okay? With the line-on strings, you'll find out that it does not stay in tune very well, especially for new strings. So it'll take a while. It might take a few days to up to a week. So what you wanted to do is make sure that there's no excess space over here on the bridge loops. And also sometimes you'll see people like to give the string a gentle yank. They give a little pull to help the string to settle. And my suggestion would be just keep on tuning your guitar. So every time you practice, pick it up, tune it, and in between the exercises or pieces, you'll hear the tone will drop, and then, you know, just keep on tuning it. And sometimes, yeah, so if you keep on tuning it, and it takes a while, and then it'll stay in tune and you'll be good to go, okay? Normally, I would suggest you, if you're new to this, leave all this excess on both sides long, so that you can monitor if there's anything gonna slip on you, if one string happened to come right out because it wasn't put it on securely, then you have the entire string to work with to put it back on. Now, once you have the strings all set, everything's good, you're happy with it a few days later, then you could just cut this excess material. Some people like to actually leave it. If you do leave it, make sure they are off the soundboard. For example, I would pull it up, you know, it's not going to touch the soundboard and create problems. In my case, I'm going to show you how I cut them. Be very careful that you're cutting these in, because your cutter will be very close to where the soundboard is. If you're not sure, you know, put a cardboard here to protect the soundboard. I cut about, so this is normally how much I would cut. You see on the 6th string, right? So it's not going to touch the 5th string, and it's not going to touch the soundboard, and that's where I want. And here we go. That's how you string the strings onto the 6-hole bridge. Another tool, this is an optional tool that you can have, is a tool that if you find turn these gears are too tedious, then you can get a tool like this. You can buy it from pretty much any music store online, and it just goes onto the tuning gear or the buttons of the tuning gear, and then you can just, you know, crank it. It makes it a little easier for yourself to unwind or unwind. Okay? So that's an optional tool to have. The most important tools to have is a wire cutter and a cloth. Okay, so on this end, some people like to just leave it like that. They like the style of it, and some people like just to make a little tiny loops and just hold the string. And then again, this is up to you, however you would prefer, right? Some people like to make a little loop, you know, however you wanted to do it. I liked mine clean, so I will cut them. And again, the way I cut them is so that it's short enough that it's not gonna touch anything else, but it's long enough that I have a good good portion there left. And I'll show you how I do this side. So if I cannot, if the strings are on the back side here, again, you normally would have this facing you. It's a lot easier to do, but I'm gonna do it in front of the camera here. So basically go in here, wherever you can get a good access, make sure you don't scratch your guitar. And then this one here is a good one to show you because it's right at the front. And I'm just gonna go to here and cut it. So this way it's nice and clean, and I know it's not gonna create any buzz for me. Okay, so that's the that is what we have. You can refer to the tuning video to tune up your guitar. Normally I cut them after the guitar is tuned, but for the simplicity of this video, I'm cutting it first to show you. Now that we have completely restrung this guitar that has the bridge with 6 holes. Put this away. Grab this one. So this is the one that has 12 holes on the bridge. Let me remove the strings and you'll see. I won't bother to show you this side anymore because on this side exactly the same as I did on the other guitar. So let's lose the tension. This one here has a little nut. Now you see how the bridge, the center bone on the bridge is movable. Make sure when you put it on, when you have a little bit tension on the strings, put your fingers on both ends to make sure that it's even. Right? You don't want to put on the guitar and then the thing looks like this or look like that, and then you end up with the string on the wood and not on the bone. One thing that I do is after I play guitar or practice, I would give the string a good wipe. You imagine the string's down here, right? You give it a good wipe and you send it. Actually, I'll show you on the guitar.
So after you practice, especially your hands sweat, and you know the sweat on the hands, and even if just the guitar on the stand get dusty, you wanted to, you know, wipe top of the string, and I always send the cloth underneath and pull it up so that I can wipe the bottom of the string, right? And then another thing I always do is to wipe the fingerboard and the fret like this, right? Just can you see I'm doing this all the way up. So that's a good way to clean your strings when you after your practice. All right, back to the. So this one here, I can see. I needed to buff a couple frets here. Okay, now some people change strings very often. I've heard people changing as often as in a few weeks. I certainly don't change my strings that often. I usually wait until either I see the deterioration on the string or the fingerboard where you press the string, or if the string really just not sound good anymore, then those are the times to change. So you know, depends on how much you practice. You could have changed your strings you know, every few months, or if you really like to change your string often, then sure, by all means, do it the way you like it. And I like them shiny. Some manufacturers, I've seen them have this kind of upper nut glued to the guitar with a little bit of glue, so they stay there. I like them movable, so if I need to make adjustments up and down and things like that, put shims in, I can easily do that, right? So again, so if you're not your guitar, the nut is movable as well. So there's one here, there's one here. This one should be movable. You don't want this to. So if they are movable, make sure when you put on the string, you know, put your fingers in there to check it's nice and even. This here you want to be even with the neck, and here you want to be even with the bridge. Okay. Sandpaper away. Now we're ready for the strings. Okay, so here, this is a set of string with a silver winding on it. So I suppose let's call it silver, and this is where strings are individually packaged. And then I would, well, in this case, I will show you. Let's put on. Let's do the same thing. I'll go from 6th to the 1st, as I did with the last two guitars, this pack of strings. So this one here, they have these ends here that you could see the different color. You could use that to help tie that end. So on the bridge end, I will use that. Okay, I'm gonna try to do it with this angle. So the 12-hole bridge, you push, so you'll see 2 sets of the holes for 1 string. Okay, so you push the string. If you want to do the traditional way, you can just use the first hole. And earlier, what we did was we went through the hole, right? We wrap it around, and we created this loop, and then we have the end goes onto the wall like that, and where we have to be very careful of make sure the pieces on the wall. Whereas with the 12 holes, so when you have 2 holes per string, it makes this a lot easier, because what you do is you push the string through. So there's another hole here on this side. You push it into the hole that's close to the treble side of the guitar. You come in, you don't have to put, you actually don't put the string under each other. All you do is pull it back. I'm gonna make it longer so it's easier to work with. And then you push this through the second hole. So what do you have here? If I pull the strings a little shorter so you can see, it's basically a loop that the string hasn't touched each other yet at this point. Okay, so actually this is a good angle to see. It just goes in, comes out, over, under, into the next hole. And then all you do is put the short end of the string here into the loop on the bottom. So this makes a lot easier when you have a this type of design. There's a few advantages. The first is you're guaranteed the short end is on the wall. It's not going to come up, right? Another thing is with the 6 hole, the string is under here. It's pulling the string up. And with this design, you have the string tension directly on the bone to the bridge to the soundboard. There's no interference. So that's what's really nice about this design. So on this side, I'm just going to do it quickly because they're really there's no difference in what I did earlier. That's how it looks like. Let's move on to the 5th. So you can see this string, there's no label on the string itself, but it's on the package. It'll just say, you know, 5th. You see here where my finger is, right? So it's labeled on the string. There's 2 typical types of packaging. So either way, either they're packed individually or they're packed together with labels on it. Either way, they'll show you what string it is. Here I'm doing the same thing. So again, there's 2 sets of holes. You push the string through the hole on the treble side of the guitar, and now come back over the bridge, and then I'm gonna push it through the second hole, and you'll see the idea is just so that I can catch the string like that. And then we can cut this afterwards if it's too long. When I normally put on the string, I go from the treble to the bass. I wouldn't have to worry about this interfere because it's I have them all pointed in that way. I did the basses first so that it's easier to see on the camera. My normal sequence is the other way around so that I don't have to fight with the strings on the bridge side. Again, double check, make sure everything's nice and even. Now the first one is where we're gonna do something special, just like the 6-hole bridge where we did double loop on the first string. So here, when you do the first string, it's so skinny. When you do this one, same as these guys, this string tend to slip out, right? Because you're not having other ways of holding it other than just on this wall. So one way to take care of that is, first of all, let me fish through the string as you would do with the other ones here. But then what you can do with the first string here is once you send it through the loop, you can tie a little knot here. So this little knot will help prevent the string to slip out, and that's the only reason why there's a knot on the first string. I've never had any problems with other strings. It's only the first one. So of course I'm making it a little too long because I was tying the knot. Make sure to shove it back and make it nice and short, so that you can have this knot against where the loop is going to be. Okay, you see this? I'm gonna pull it out a little bit. So you see this knot? Okay, we made a knot here, and pull it a little bit tighter if you can. Right, so this knot is now going to, when I pull the string, it's going to prevent the string to come off. For the 12-hole bridge, this would be something special that you could do for the first string. And then that's it. Everything else is pretty straightforward. The strings are on, just like the other guitar we did. Once you know for sure the strings are tuned and everything's set, then you can start to cut out the excess strings on both ends. And remember, always tune your guitar to evenly bring up the tension, right? So you make sure that you don't tune one string to the pitch and then to the next. Bring them up evenly. And for the tuning details, I refer to the guitar tuning video that I made. So this concludes the video of how to put the strings on a guitar that has a bridge with 6 holes and a guitar with a bridge that has 12 holes. Thank you for watching. See you next time.